Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. All right, I want you to grab your smartphone, download the Game Time app. Now, they have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier than before. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So you take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, 90 seconds, create an account, and please use the code COLIN, C-O-L-I-N. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. The redeem code's COLIN, C-O-L-I-N, $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Instant reaction, Atlanta 22-21. So in the offseason, I picked Atlanta to win their division. I thought they could win 11, 12 games. I think they're a really good football team. I think in week one, Atlanta was at a coaching disadvantage because Arthur Smith, their former coach, was now a Steelers offensive coordinator. That's a huge advantage. I mean, that's a really week one advantage that you're just not going to get some insight on personnel. And Pittsburgh's got a very, very good defense, and they gave Kirk Cousins a lot of trouble. I thought he had a little more spring in his step. Now, in week one against Pittsburgh, he was static. He just stayed in the pocket. But I thought tonight he moved a little better. He told Troy Aikman he's 100% in the pocket. He's not 100% yet. But I think two things are very clear about these two teams. Those were two good offensive lines and two good run games. And Jalen Hurts, obviously part of Philadelphia's run game. But Kirk Cousins, 15-23, 170 yards, a touchdown, no picks, and a great final drive. Just pick, nice passes. And by the way, when they paid for Kirk Cousins and they drafted Michael Penix, I said, you're telling me that's a mistake. Look at all the rookie quarterbacks right now. They're brutal. You know who isn't? Michael Penix, sitting behind, like Mahomes, who sat behind Alex Smith. Michael Penix is sitting behind Kirk Cousins and learning the game of football, just like a Tom Brady did with a Drew Bledsoe. He's just sitting on the sidelines and watching. That's what Mahomes did. It's what Carson Palmer, I believe, did. This idea, Lamar Jackson sat for like 10 games behind Joe Flacco. So this idea that bringing in Kirk Cousins to mentor, and I said, I think they can win the division. I love their personnel. Their offensive line's great. They have multiple running backs. I think Bijan Robinson was underused last year. He's fantastic. But you just, and the Eagles have a good defensive front. They pushed them back. Both those offensive lines had their way tonight. So I think Atlanta's a real team. Philadelphia, I know they feel terrible about this loss, but Philadelphia lost. I mean, what are upsets? San Francisco just got housed by the Vikings. I mean, Baltimore's 0-2. The Rams season looks like it's over. New England beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati should have beaten Kansas City. So I think you looked at two teams that will probably, or at least could, the Saints look pretty good, could win their division. So, my take on Philadelphia, and sometimes you just lose games. And I mean, hell, Atlanta with that Drake London, taunting penalty late. Thank God they have one of the best kickers in the league, or they could have missed that extra point. So, I don't think Philadelphia is a bad football team. I think Atlanta and Philadelphia could win their divisions. And I think what this proves, though, at least early, is you're watching all these young quarterbacks. They're completely over their skis, bailing water. And Michael Penix is just sitting back learning how to play football. You're not winning that game with Michael Penix tonight. You're just not. And I thought Cousins, who, by the way, is 4-1 in his last 5 Monday Night Football games, big stage Kirk Cousins after he started terribly. He there used to be these discussions. He didn't like playing like off-schedule games. He had a very rigid schedule. He preferred the 1 o'clocks, especially at home. I thought he looked really good tonight. And again, he's not moving much. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't move anymore. Jared Goff doesn't move around much. You can win a lot of football games that way, especially with that O-line and that run game. The Falcons have 3 running backs I like. 2 I really like. I thought Jalen Hurts, by and large, played pretty well. I mean, he had that last pick because he had pressure in his face, but Philadelphia, I, these offenses, I got this text tonight. So there's a lot of discussion about why are the offenses so bad? Okay, why are the offenses so bad? So fewest points through 2 weeks since 2017, averaging 42 points a game combined. Fewest touchdown passes through 2 weeks since 2006, 18 years. And I think a lot of this is the reluctance to play any starters. Now that you've watched Bo Nix and Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, couldn't you argue they should have played virtually every snap of the preseason? Every snap. Atlanta played Michael Penix, I think, one preseason game and said, we're done. Now, he didn't have to start, but nobody's playing starters. And you've gone from 4 preseason to 3 preseason games. You're going to go down to 2 once they add an 18th game. And so I think you just have to look at weeks 1 and 2 there's a lot of experimenting going on. There's some bad offensive play. And the hardest unit of any football team to build cohesion is arguably the most important unit of any football team, the offensive line. So, I think the Jets' offensive line's done fine so far, but if there's any growth for the Jets as their defense falls apart is, these older offensive linemen will play together. And their O-line hasn't been atrocious, but it will certainly get better over time. So I think it's kind of explainable. Starters aren't playing snaps. O-linemen aren't playing snaps, especially if they're long in the tooth. And the quarterbacks are paying the price. They're on their back. They're getting hammered. Also, I think because the owners are richer than ever, they're willing to fire coaches after 1 year, coordinators move off quarterbacks early. I also think part of the offensive struggle is it's hard to keep cohesion in your coaching staff. Owners now will it's a rounding error to write a $50 million check and fire coordinators and coaches and staff. They don't care anymore. Used to be owners their net worth was $600 million. Yeah, you don't want to write a $60 million check, but when your net worth is $9 billion, you'll write that check to win games because now teams, they're all getting 3 and 4 and $150 million checks annually from the TV deal from the NFL, especially since gambling was legalized in the gambling dollars. So these owners now are getting massive checks. They're less patient. It puts pressure top down in the organizations. You're moving through coordinators, quarterbacks, and coaches. You're playing quarterbacks earlier. So I think there's a lot of things that explain it. But another one is nobody's playing starters in the preseason. In the first 2 weeks, you can tell. Good for Atlanta tonight. I took notes the entire game on this, and then it came down to the final 2 drives. Pretty boring first quarter, but after that, I thought Jalen Hurts really got hot in the second half. I thought he looked good. And, it just goes to show sometimes that these moves, there's repercussions, obviously, for some of these personnel moves. The Giants move off Saquon Barkley. So Saquon's obviously, is a nice get for Philadelphia. Now, he dropped that ball at the end of the game that would have been a touchdown out in the flat. That was a pretty good pass, and he dropped it. That wasn't one of his shining moments, but he's obviously been a huge addition for Philadelphia. He's going to win them some football games. Simultaneously, the Giants are now 0-2, and there's talk about Brian Daboll getting fired, who I think would get a job, within the year. But you start looking around when you give up a player like Saquon Barkley to a division rival. If he'd have caught that ball tonight in a touchdown, I mean, if you're a Giant staffer, New York Giants staffer, thank God Saquon Barkley dropped that tonight. He would have had the game-winning touchdown. So he had clearly a dimension to Philadelphia. So I thought it was a good football game. 2 good offensive lines, a lot of good running backs, a real resurgent in running backs over the weekends. J.K. Dobbins, Alvin Kamara. There's everything's cyclical in sports. And in the NFL, it was 9 months ago, we were talking about running backs don't get paid. Eventually, with all these young quarterbacks playing, right, you probably going forward are going to need a stronger run game. Obviously, with J.K. Dobbins and Harbaugh's style, he's gonna run him extensively. But Atlanta looks like a team with Kirk Cousins limitations, run team. I think the Lions are not running it enough um, with Montgomery and Gibbs. Um, I mean, there's some teams in this league that I think are going to run over 50% of the time, or at least should, and Atlanta's one of them. So nice win for the Falcons. How about that division? Tampa, the Saints, and Carolina's garbage. Minnesota, excuse me, the NFC South. Atlanta's a real team. Saints look like a completely different franchise. Baker and Tampa Bay. Carolina's trash. But the NFC South, I don't know. Looks pretty good. And everybody's beaten Carolina twice. So those are 2 W's right there. Thursday Night Football's back, and it's only on Prime Video. This Thursday, the Patriots and the New York Jets. I like New York. 2-game winning streak for the Jets. Join Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit, Kaylee Hartung. These AFC East rivals. Well, it's been lopsided for most of my life, but maybe not anymore with Aaron Rodgers. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with football's best party. Thursday Night Football tonight, live from MetLife Stadium. If you're not a Prime member, not a problem. Simply sign up for a 30-day free trial. You can cancel anytime. It's the Patriots Jets, 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursday Night Football, and it's on Prime Video. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details. Speaking of the NFC, the last 4 undefeated teams in the NFC, the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Bucks, and the Saints. Just like everybody predicted. That's why this league is so great. By the way, Saints veteran quarterback, Bucks veteran quarterback, Seahawks veteran quarterback, Vikings veteran quarterback. That goes back to what we talked about the preseason. These teams in the NFC that are starting strong, we don't know how they'll finish. There may be ceilings for Sam Darnold and Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith. But it is an advantage having, 1,000 reps in this league in the first 2 to 3 weeks of the NFL season. That's very clear that a lot of these veteran guys who have bounced around the league are off to really nice starts. They feel like they might not be masters of the position, but they're miles ahead of these rookie quarterbacks and younger quarterbacks that just don't have the time in the league.